Hey everybody, this is Brian from X Bikes, and if you see my last video, I was doing a 0 to 50 speed run and did way too many full throttle warm-ups and overheated my motor, and yeah, I thought it was fried. We weren't sure what was wrong with it, but it was messed up. I did make it home, and I have been riding it since. But I have to be real easy on the throttle. As long as I'm easy on the throttle, it'll go whatever, 50, 60 steps, whatever. But if you hit that throttle, you get this whizzing sound, and one time it even caused the controller to shut down. We thought maybe that the epoxy came loose and the epoxy melted and one of the magnets came loose, and that's not the case. In fact, the stator looks perfectly fine, and so does the hub. The only thing I see is there is like metal shavings in there. Not a lot, but there was some. So I'm gonna clean it up, but everything's attached, everything looks good. I'm going to show you here in a second. Yeah, I don't know. So I do have a new motor coming here in a few weeks. I was hoping to fix this one, for a backup motor, which I will, but I was hoping to fix it today so I could ride it for a couple weeks. I mean, it was rideable before, but it wasn't as fun, right? Couldn't really get on that throttle. So I'm going to clean it up, get the metal shavings out, and put it back together. And yeah, but anyways, I'm going to show you the hub and the stator, and let you see for yourself. Okay, so here's the hub, and everything looks to me okay. I don't see anything loose. Now, I can see some rubbing, but all the magnets are intact. Yeah. Over here, definitely see some, I don't know what that is. I'm going to clean this all up. Yeah, you can see there's been some rubbing in here. I'm going to clean this whole thing up, get all the shavings out. If you look down here, you can see some shavings and stuff. I cleaned most of it out, but there's still some in there. But yeah, I don't know. So now let's go take a look at the stator. Alright. So, pretty much the same story, right? Oh, damn. So, I just don't want to mess up my brake, but, all magnets are intact. I just don't see anything, man. I don't understand. We'll take a look at the inside here in a second. But as you can see, I mean, everything's tight, man. Weird. Okay. And the inside circuit board, I mean, everything didn't melt the solder. I mean, everything is hooked up. Everything was good, man. I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah. But like I said, I'm not super worried about it. I got a new motor coming. It's getting modified for me, so I won't have any overheating problems. I guess not specially built, but it's going to be, the stator is going to be, well, I'll go over that when it comes. That's another video. But anyways, this is baffling me because it literally looks fine. Yeah. So I guess all I can do. Oh, I'll tell you another thing. So I just noticed something. So I thought I've had these Shinko tires on here, and I had a wobble in the back, and I was blaming it on the tire because they're really not. I mean, people use them a lot, but they're not the best. Not best balanced. Sometimes they're a little lopsided. You can read reviews on it. But I noticed something. If I can do it with holding this camera. Probably not. Okay. So if you look, I don't know if you can see it. Hold on here. Yeah. You can see the wobble. I don't know if you can see it. But it definitely has a wobble. And it's not true. So, yeah, it wasn't the tire after all. It was the actual hub. Has a slight wobble to it. It's a very slight here, but as it goes out, it's definitely transitions into a pretty decent little wobble that it's really only noticeable in the very beginning, when you're going at low speeds. Once it picks up, yeah, you don't even notice. It's like it's not there. Anyhow, all right, well, I'm going to get this thing cleaned up and put back together because I don't know what else to do, guys. It looks good to me. Fuck. All right, bye. Well, guys, I got the bike, the motor back together and wired up. Well, in the process, I was just getting the motor back on the frame when I snapped the derailleur hanger. So, there's the derailleur right there. So I ordered a new one on Amazon, and I have to wait till tomorrow to finish this up. So I'll be back tomorrow for the rest, and hopefully this thing works. Well, it looks like Amazon came today, and I got my derailleur hanger. So we're going to put this on the bike and get that tire on and it buttoned up and take it for a ride. Well, I got the derailleur back on. It was a mess. It was so twisted up that it was almost like a puzzle, but it's on there now. So now all I gotta do is throw the motor back on and put the torque arms back on and go take it for a ride. I do not have a lot of confidence in this. I'm not sure. I really didn't see anything wrong except for those shavings. I mean, maybe that was it. I mean, I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. I'm not too worried about it because I do have a new motor coming, but I was really hoping to have this as a backup in case something happened to it. But we're going to find out. So we'll button this thing up and take her for a ride, and hopefully the shavings was the problem, and I'll have a good backup motor. All right. Well, guys, unfortunately this video is going to be a little anticlimactic. Me and my father-in-law spent about an hour and a half last night trying to get the motor on, and apparently while having this motor off for close to a week, the frame that I had stretched to accommodate this way oversized tire that I had the mistake of buying pretty much bent back to where it belonged, and we couldn't by hand, even with a pry bar, really stretch it where it needed to go, which was over these 3 washers. And we battled this thing, like I said, for like an hour and a half, and both of us dripping sweat, and The only way to get this back on is get the jack and stretch this thing out again. And I'm not going to do that, and I'll tell you why. Because I have a brand new motor with the right size tire coming probably next week. And the other thing is I don't think I fixed anything. I mean, sure, there were shavings down there, but I think that was more of a symptom of the problem than the actual problem, right? So I'm making the decision to not even test it. I mean, I could throw it on a stand and spin it, but it's not going to tell us anything because this only happens because I could throw it up. I was throwing it up on the kickstand and gunning it, and it sounded just fine and acted just fine. But it was when it was under load, when it had weight to pull, and you gunned it. That's when it sounded like a electric drill. It had that whining, whizzing sound, and it seemed like it just was like I don't know, like wasn't moving, like it was slipping or something, and but that was, like I said, it was only under load. So throwing it on a stand and spinning it around for you guys is not going to show us anything, unfortunately. So it is not worth to bend my frame again just to get that in for a week. I wasn't happy that I had to bend my frame anyways. I was a little upset, but I had spent a lot of money on these Shinko tires front and back, and they were a bitch to get on. It took like 3 people sometimes to get these on. And I wasn't about to pop them off after all that. And so we decided to bend the frame, and I've never been happy about that. What I am happy about is it's almost completely back to normal. It might be 5 millimeters from normal, but just tighten that bad boy down and it's going to be, I won't even need washers, right? It's not worth it for a motor that I'm not even sure is going to work, which I'm pretty sure is not going to work, right? Because I don't think, like I said, I don't think we sold anything. If anybody watching this video has experienced something like this, I still would like to know. And at some point, I am going to deal with this motor, right? But if anybody watching this video has ever had their motor do something like this, and I'm telling you, it sounds like you got your drill gun on full blast and it says zzz when you gun it, right? At any point, like when either from a stop or even if you're going and you gun it. But if you're easy on the throttle, it's like perfect, right? And I rode it for a week after I thought I'd fried it. Made it home and rode it around. As long as I was easy on the throttle, it was fine. But as soon as you gun it, you get that weird. And in fact, one time, it even put the controller in protective mode. And that could have been the metal shavings, right? Now that actually could have been the metal shavings going up in there, spinning around and just making contact with a couple wires or whatever. But I don't believe that was a problem. So for some reason the magnets are touching, and if you can see where metal has been scuffed off, right? So maybe when the motor overheated, it kind of ballooned everything out a little bit, and now the magnets are touching on one side and grinding. But but when you're just cruising slow, it sure doesn't feel like it or sound like it. So I don't know what's going on. And at this point, I don't care. I got a new motor coming, and we'll slap that bad boy in, and that's going to be a piece of cake. It's going to pop right in. I don't know, bending, no nothing. It's already pre-bent if it needed a little bending. Tires are the right size. It's gonna be great. So anyways, the stuff for my for the motor and I'm also getting a new front tire along with the back tire. So it's gonna be 2 Shinko 100 by 80 by 16 instead of 110. So it's gonna be 10 millimeters of extra room back here, which is what I need. Because if you see my earlier videos, I literally have 1/100th of a millimeter gap if that, right? Because it kind of rubs a little bit on one side. So anyways, all this parts should start coming this week, and we'll be making a new video on them arriving and putting this together and getting this bad boy on the road. And also, my wife is getting a new battery for her bike, a 35 amp hour, 52 volt battery to run parallel with their 20 amp hour battery, give her 55 amp hours, which would be 10 amp hours more than mine, but mine is 72 volt. And then we're going to be putting a 2000 watt, 4000 watt peak motor on hers, and a 80 amp controller that's going to be down tuned to about 50 or 60 amps. So all that will be in upcoming videos, and so I guess I will see you guys later, and have a great day.